Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 188 of the Civil Gore podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And this is Brian. And I'm excited for this episode because this is a movie I bought blindly. I obviously saw a lot of great reviews and a lot of people were talking about it, but it's one of those ones that I hadn't seen it, but I got caught up in the hype anyway. And of course, the Monolith already just knew about it and ordered it for me. But that is, we're going to talk about Psycho Goreman today from 2020. That this film is I think this will be a fun conversation because this is a good film.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about this one because there's so much to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Even without giving spoilers, because we're not going to give spoilers because it's coming to Shudder. Actually, it'll be on Shudder by the time you guys hear this recording. So definitely check that one out. I mean, that's worth the price of Shudder alone to get movies like this that you can just watch anytime. I mean,
absolutely
outstanding. All right, well, let's get right into it. Not a big first chop this week, but a first chop nonetheless. All right, Brian. So unfortunately, I did not get to watch a whole lot. Well, I should say I got to watch a lot. I didn't get to finish a lot to talk about. I did start on an interesting project. It's not. I'm not going to say it's an official project. It's again one of those kind of fun things where I like to make lists. And what I did is I made a list of all the Dario Argento movies, all the Lucio Fulci movies, and all the Mario Bava movies. And I put them in a big spreadsheet, and I'm trying to go through their whole filmography, like the big three Italian directors. I want to go through everything, even though I've seen a lot of them. But
yeah, I was gonna say you'll probably end up seeing, probably rewatching a bunch.
Yeah, but I kind of wanted to go see all of their careers in chronological order. So I started with The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, which is the first Dario Argento giallo film, and so far it's very basic. It's very like by the numbers, but it was early in his career. And the Mario Bava ones are the ones I'm really looking forward to, just because he was so not only prolific, but he was all over the map. Like, he did a lot of non-horror stuff. He did a lot of fantasy. I'm not doing those. I'm doing just the horror stuff because I had to limit it somehow. But his style is really interesting. He does some really kind of crazy out there stuff. And then Fulci is just all gore. I mean, he's like the gore hound. So those will be a lot of fun to watch. And those I have not seen in a while. The ones that I have seen of his are ones that I haven't seen in quite some time. So I'm very much looking forward to that project. But I'll keep you guys updated on that as I go through it. Nothing for this week. But Brian, I did get to see a documentary that we were generously sent a screener of. And I was really excited for this one because it's from Small Town Monsters, which we've talked about on the podcast before.
Yeah, that's Seth Breedlove's series of those cool like myth and monster tales and stuff.
Yeah, he does documentaries on cryptids. You can find a lot of them on Amazon Prime if you want to go check some of them out. And they're always really entertaining. I've really liked everyone I've seen. I've really enjoyed. So he sent us one called On the Trail of Bigfoot, The Journey. He's got a whole series of these On the Trail of Bigfoot documentaries. Yeah. This is the latest one, of course. And Brian, what'd you think of it? First of all, I just loved the scenery because he's visiting a location very familiar to you.
Yeah, he's upstate New York in the Appalachian Mountains there. He talks about it. See, so it's usually, you get these Bigfoot movies, and they're always talking about, like, oh, there's California and Oregon,
Washington,
all those West states. But this one is cool because this one goes into the East Coast ones, and they basically, they talk about how that area is so perfect because it like borders around with the Vermont area and Canada, and it's like they're saying it's like the perfect area for a creature that does not want to be found to exist. And they do it through, like, one of his signatures, I think, is just these sweeping great really great cinematography style shots of stuff. And they have these like great mountain ranges that they're just flying over, and he's just got something about his documentaries are just so engaging, and they like pull you in, to the point of where you almost don't even care if you've heard the legend or know anything. Of course, Bigfoot is one that is the most probably most familiar cryptid, and the one that people have, like, you can go up to anybody and kind of just say Bigfoot and they know what you're talking about. Maybe that, what was that, Tale of the Momo one, that might be a little bit more obscure, but his signature, it's still got his signature style to this, and this one he's actually in it a lot, which is kind of interesting. So they have it's like basically he goes off this quest, and what's interesting about this one, though, beyond just the documentary on the search of Bigfoot, is though this is a journey he apparently always wanted to take, and he took it during COVID times, and it helped. Not only did it help do his documentary, but it got him away from all the stuff that was going on in the world. So. And it's just he has a lot of interesting guests on it, and a lot of people that get like interviewed of some sightings and stuff, and just the tales on it are just, again, fascinating to me. And so it's like, it's funny with as many Bigfoot documentaries that Tim and I have watched, and Bigfoot movies. I mean, just alone since let alone since his podcast started.
Yeah.
He finds a way to make this so interesting and so engaging that you don't care that some stories you might have heard before, and and it maybe repeats to other documentaries you might have seen at some level, but at the same time, it's still, he just always finds a way to engage you into such a great world of whatever myth he's trying to explore.
Yeah, these are a lot of fun. So I would definitely go check out some of his other ones. Some of the other ones in the series are actually on Amazon Prime, and the Bigfoot series, I mean. And then also his other cryptid documentaries are really good. I like that he has a lot of interviews. He does a lot of interviews with locals that are telling their story, which I always think is fascinating. And a lot of great, like Brian said, a lot of good scenery shots. This one really made me want to go on a wilderness trip, because just seeing those guys out in nature, like I've been cooped up in the same house for over a year, and just seeing those woods and people out hiking and stuff, I was like, oh my gosh, I would love to do like a camping trip with the kids or something. It just really, man, it put that bug in me bad, seeing them out there in the woods.
Yeah, no, like we're trying to we're going to hopefully try and get to at least a camping trip this summer, now that Obi's getting a little bit older and he can probably handle more things like that. So we're excited we're going to try and definitely do a camping trip, even if it's like a small weekend one. But yeah, no, that makes you itch for, if you like camping, this thing will drive you crazy. You'll be like putting your tent up by the end of this, by the end of this documentary, and just like getting it ready. It's so cool.
Yeah, lots of fun. Okay, so Brian, you saw another one this week. I believe we also got a screener for this one, right?
Yeah. So this is it's called 616 Wilford Lane, and
diabetes.
Yeah.
Oh, Wilford Brimley Lane? No, sorry, Wilford, just Wilford Lane.
Okay. Yeah. But this one, actually, it's co-directed. It's got two directors, and we kind of know them both. One is Mark Allen, of course, who we had on the show. He was one of the producers of Fear Farm, and Dante Yor, which was the director of Fear Farm. They co-directed this one.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, it's got a great cast. It's got Eric Roberts in it. It's got John Littlefield, who of course played in Fear Farm. He played Herschel Walker.
Yeah.
And he's just like that guy. I swear to God, he's like one of my new favorite actors. I could watch him in anything. And this, he's like a full movie. He's like one of the main characters in it. So he's in it throughout. So you got it. And then Jessica Chancellor. I don't know if you've ever seen. She was in one of Emily Sweet's movies. They were in that Escaping Final Level, Rancala, or I always get the name wrong, but that one, it was like kind of like a Jumanji, but in a video game. Mm-hmm. And you know who makes an appearance actually in this too? Mark DiCarlo. Remember him? He's in there. And but anyway, so what this movie is about, it's basically like a grieving father. He relocates his two teen daughters into this house, and there's like, and there's this legend that there was a murder in the house, and he goes, I don't want to go too much into it, because of course you wanted to discover it, but it's just, it's really fun. It was like, I actually really enjoyed this one, mostly because the cast was so good in it. I thought the cast was really strong, and I just thought it was just, I don't know, the style of it, the way they did it too. There's a lot of like, kind of remind me, there was scenes similar to the Paranormal Activity where there was like they show you some security footage of stuff happening, but yet there was definitely a narrative. It was not found footage. It was just that sequence. And I swear to God, the house they used, I gotta find out. I gotta reach out to maybe we'll reach out to Mark and ask him, because but it looked like they might have filmed that house. I swear to God, it looked like the inside of the Paranormal Activity 2 house.
Oh, really?
with some of those shots. I don't know if it is, but yeah, but this is, I believe it's coming out this week. By the time you're hearing it, this should be already out on VOD. So if you want a really cool, like, supernaturally kind of, I dare say revenge, not really a revenge thriller, but it's like one of those supernatural, like, haunted house type of fun movies. This one's definitely one to check out. But it's got a couple little things that you don't normally find, which don't want to really say much about it. You'll see it as it goes along. But yeah, really good. And Eric Roberts is like, he's not in it a lot, but he's hilarious in it. Like, just because he plays the mayor, and he's just really, Eric Roberts is awesome,
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just to have him in there. But yeah, so another combination, I guess, with Mark Allen and Dante Ure that I just love. Something about these guys when they get together, whether they're either co-directing or one's directing and the other's producing. But yeah, this is great.
Awesome. So our last thing here on the rundown is a little bit of an older title, but Brian
old
and I
for us, but new for us, but old for the world.
Yeah, so Brian and I have been playing Resident Evil 7. This was, of course, Resident Evil 8, which was Resident Evil Village, just came out, but we had never played Resident Evil 7, and it came out on Game Pass, so we started into this thing. And I'll tell you, I have not played a Resident Evil game in, like, forever, so I had no clue. No clue what to expect. I had no clue what this thing was. And it ends up being this freaking Texas Chainsaw Massacre house. I don't know. Me and Joshua have been playing it and freaking ourselves out. It's scary. And these horror games, you guys might laugh at this, but I can watch horror movies all day long. I'll watch them, go to bed, sleep like a baby. But when I have to play a horror game where I'm actually in it, it stresses me out so bad. And to this day, I have not tried a horror VR game because I don't think I can handle it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have the Exorcist one. I still got to finish. I'm like, I finished chapter 1. I got to do chapter 2 of Exorcist.
Yeah, it just stresses me out. I mean, I can play only in like little short bursts, and Josh will be like, "Daddy, let's play Resident Evil 7." I'm like, I can't. I can't do it tonight. I'm sorry. I mean, like I said, we haven't played in a while these Resident Evil games, and I remember the original one. The original batch, the first few. There were like, it's kind of like that. Where you controlled your character, but this is like first person shooter kind of mode. So it's almost like if it was VR without the VR. And so, the whole thing is like, you're walking through and you can see your hands when you move stuff, but like, so everything is in your face, and the detail of the house that you have to explore and the different things, like just the opening when you're walking through the forest to get to the house, there's just like, it really pulls a sense of dread because it's really encompassing around you. And I like the fact that I heard Village, I think they went back to the old kind of format of it, where it's like whatever that character is, the 3D character version. Oh, yeah, third person, yeah.
Third person, yeah. But this one, I have to say, like, I didn't know how I was going to like a Resident Evil game in the first person shooter mode, but I have to say it works so well for the story that this one is. And I mean, there's like, but there are jump scares galore in this, but I think what it builds on is the tension of it, because they do a great job with, like, certain characters will appear off in the distance and you're not sure where, like, they're going to come out. Next thing you know, they're like right in front of you, or you're just like exploring and there's nothing for so long. And so you get this sense of like, something's coming, you just have no idea when, and then it just happens. I think one of the coolest things that they do is, so one of the plot points, and not to give away super details in this, but one of the plot, as the plots go on, you have to you find videotapes that you watch. But what's cool is when you watch the videotape, you actually interact as someone in the videotape that your main character is watching, and you can actually technically alter things when you get back into the real-time gameplay, which I thought was interesting.
Cool. Yeah, that was cool.
Like the first one, like, here's a bit of a spoiler. Like, in the first one, you find like a lockpick and you can unlock a drawer in the videotape. And then so when you go back into real time, you can go over and go get what was in the drawer. And it's like, I think in this case it was like one of those coins you have to collect. And that's the thing. There's like little challenges that go along the way that they hit in, like those things you got to break, those little bobblehead dolls, because if you get them all, you get some kind of achievement. But but still said, like, the storyline is really impressive for Resident Evil. Like, it goes back to, like, some, kind of, definitely Texas Chainsaw Massacre-esque.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I mean, especially there's one scene where, you might as well have just taken it right out of there and replaced Grandpa with Grandma. But, but yeah, it's really, like, I'm not as far as you probably. I am right to the point where I've watched, right after I watched Mia's tape. And I'm about to start, like, going through the house again after that. So
it's stressful game, but it's fun. It's really good. So I think once I finish this one, I'll definitely be wanting to pick up part.
Oh
8.
yeah, I'm hoping it'll appear on Game Pass 8, but if not, that's one I may just pick up because it's well, especially after this one, I'm so back into the Resident Evil world.
And I believe it's a direct sequel. I think 8 definitely ties directly into this one. So.
That's what I heard, right? Yeah, because they said you got to play 7 before you play 8. So
yeah. All right, well, let's get right into our main feature. This is one that when it came out, man, the buzz on this one was through the roof, and I was really looking forward to seeing it. And Shudder was nice enough to send us a screener copy because it's going to debut on Shudder, I believe May 20th. So you guys are already able to get it once you.
Once this comes out.
So this is Psycho Goreman from 2020, directed by Steven Kostansky. Big cast list here. We had Nita Josie Hannah as Mimi, Owen Meyer as Luke, Matthew Ninneber as Psycho Goreman. I hope I said that name right. I don't want him coming from outer space to kill me.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Stephen Vlahos as Psycho Goreman's voice. Adam Brooks as Greg, Alexis Cara Hansey as Susan, Kristen McCulloch as Pandora / Queen Obelisk / Alistair's mom, Anna Tierney as the Pandora voice, Roxine Latoya Plummer as Human Pandora, Alex Chung as Darkscream, Scout Flint as Alistair, Robert Homer as Vince Biocop, Connor Sweeney as Maddox Cassius 3000, Matthew Kennedy as Cortex, and Rick Armsbury as Dennis. So after unearthing a gem that controls an evil monster looking to destroy the universe, a young girl and her brother use it to make him do their bidding. And I will tell you, Brian, going into this, I was a little afraid because, number one, the hype was so big around this one. I thought I couldn't help but be disappointed if I watched this. And then I like a certain level of like wackiness, but then at some point it can easily turn for me, and then I get kind of just annoyed by it. And so I'm looking at the trailer and I'm going, okay, this is kind of funny. Like, okay, he's like a evil dude, and then this little girl's controlling him. Haha, okay, I get it. And I thought, oh man, I hope this doesn't wear thin, because I could see how that haha humor could wear really thin. But I will tell you, I was so blown away. I was so pleasantly surprised. There was so much love for 80s film in this movie that I could not help but fall in love with it. All the fears I had going into it were completely wiped out after 20 minutes.
Oh yeah, no, and this one lives up to its gore in the name, I'll tell you, because this one was like filled with that just great over the top gore, but they used it in the right way, and I think it like definitely kind of played on to that zaniness. And this director, actually, Tim, we saw something from him that we both liked, and that was the Leprechaun Returns movie. So I was already knew that this director could take kind of like an 80s kind of element, because obviously it's that kind of 80s or early. I guess, when was the first Leprechaun? Was it in 80, 89 or something like that, right? When was
I believe it was early 90s. Hang on, let me look.
Was it that late? But like the first Leprechaun definitely had an 80s vibe to it. Like the 80s style. It's 93.
93, yep.
But yeah, still early enough in the 90s, I thought that it still kind of had that kind of cool 80s vibe to it. But anyway, and so, I had a kind of confidence that he would go into it good. And, this movie kind of like just starts off with like a bang, and it just, you know what it is? It's just one of these movies that you can't help but having fun and just enjoy it. It's just so like, the plot is very simple plot. It's like, you get, and the backstory. And I love to every time that they try to give you the backstory to it, like it gets interrupted somehow. Like he can't, like this poor, like, I mean, it's funny. I'm saying poor to this giant alien warlord that wants to kill everybody, but like, it seems like he can't like catch a break through this whole movie. And it's kind of like, it kind of adds to the fun, the comedy, but it's, it kind of had a little bit of like, reminding me of like, kind of like the fun of like Howard the Duck kind of thing, like that kind of, but with a lot of gore, I think.
Yeah, one thing I really liked was that the movie, we were talking about how it starts off with a big bang. I actually timed it. I was looking for, because I had started this movie a while back before we decided we were going to do it for the episode. I had started it, and then I got interrupted and never went back to it. I'd gotten about maybe just 5 minutes into it. So when I came back to watch it from the beginning again, I was specifically looking for how long it took to basically set the plot in motion. So when they find the orb or whatever, which this is in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler, but
yeah.
when they find the orb that controls Psycho Goreman, I was trying to see when that started. 4 minutes into the movie. That's how quick they get to the action. There's not a slow point in this movie. It's so well written, so tightly paced.
Oh yeah.
It's just a super tight script, and I'm all about like efficiency with writing and tight scripts and tight, I love that stuff, and it really stands out to me when it's done poorly, and it also really stands out to me when it's done really well. So I thought the writing in this one was brilliant, and there's so many. This is one I'm going to have to rewatch again because there's so many little details that are so hilarious in this.
Oh yeah, and they come at you so fast.
Yeah, like there's little like throwaway little just shots and little scenes that are like, I will give you one that's a very mild spoiler, but there's one sequence where the kid's asking if there's such thing as monsters, and the dad says, well it's something like this stupid pushover dad. He's like, well son, I guess you could say humans are the real monsters, and the mom gives this eye roll.
Yeah.
It was so funny to me because I've seen Olivia give me that same look so many times.
Yes, Tim and I, I'm sure both of us.
So
sure
it's just little,
well.
little things like that are just so brilliant. I mean, he could have just said that line and it just went right past him, but it's those little touches that make this movie truly magical. And the marriage dynamic in this one is just really strange. The dad is like this. He's like a really calm guy, and I look up to this, not to this particular dad by any means.
Yeah.
But I look up to seeing dads in shows and movies that are like super chill and super calm, because I tend to be calm most of the time, but when something really gets under my skin, I can really blow up. And I'm always trying to fight that temptation. So when I see like really, really calm dads, like that sees like a giant hole dug in their yard, and he's just like, well, somebody's gonna have to fill that in.
Yeah, I don't know who's gonna do it. Yeah,
I strive to be that dad instead of the one going, oh my god, and freaking out. So I looked up to that, but then you find out that he's kind of a lazy husband. So
and he and he's always got injuries with it. He's always getting injured with silly things, or whether or not he's faking it or not is still up to determination. Either way, he does eventually get really injured in the movie in terms of his hand. But and another little thing, I mean, it's a bit of a spoiler, but the scene where they're walking in the woods, and like the one cop that's kind of like been like a little bit just I don't know how do you want to describe him, but just basically he's not well. He's
not
kind
well.
of like
he's had better
zombie-ish state kind of thing, and he's just trying to kill himself the whole time. He just can't keep shooting the gun through him, and he can't. It's just, but it's going on in the background as the rest of the movie is going. That's the thing. It's like all these little jokes and little funny things that we're talking about are almost happening simultaneously. It doesn't slow down the plot. It's like almost as a side or background, but
yeah,
still
there's so many
done
little things
well
to
enough
pick
that
out.
You could see it.
Yeah. The other thing I just absolutely loved is the creativity of the characters. Now everything here is done in practical effects.
Mm-hmm.
So all the costumes, all the creatures, I mean, it just has that look of an 80s fantasy film. And
Last Starfighter, I got that vibe a little bit, like that
Yeah.
they're aliens.
a
Of
bit
course,
of
I
a
said Howard the Duck,
never-ending story, Labyrinth, any of those like
yeah,
creature
Buckaroo
designs.
Banzai, like those kind of
Yeah.
like everything 80s, like that kind of thing. Like they managed to capture that perfectly somehow, But even just like that, when they're in that weird alien round table, I'm like, it's like, someone might look at that if they didn't know what they were going for and say, why does it look so cheap? No, it's not cheap looking. It's just they went for a style, an 80s vibe, and with practical effects and costumes, and I think they nailed it perfectly, and it fits this film so well. I mean, and plus, if you think about it, it's almost, there's that, like, little bit of a Spielberg-esque kind of story where the kids are, like,
Kids are the heroes,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just so, like, it's basically everything I love when I watch a movie. Like, it had all the stuff I love to watch. It's like it had humor, it had some good gore, it had some it had some tender moments. It just had some it was just like one of those movies that just managed to hit everything it was trying to. And you could see that, okay, he was going for this, boom, nailed it,
Oh, they even have a 80s montage sequence in there that you're going to instantly recognize.
Oh yeah.
And I really wanted to find out more backstory. The characters that you see on screen are so fascinating, and there's no backstory to them. It's just they're different, aliens and creatures that are aware of Psycho Goreman and are trying to stop him, and they're all so interesting. The designs, I want like a D&D monster manual page of who this person is and all their stats and their background and their history, because it reminded me a lot of another vibe I got was Doctor Who. Got a big strong Doctor Who vibe, because you have all these weird interesting creatures, and I don't know, I just loved the costume, like the creativity of the costumes. There's some people that are like robotic looking, like almost like steampunk mechanical, and then
that's what's his face, Cassius 3000.
Yeah, then you've got like one thing that's like almost like a plant type creature, and you got this other thing that looks like a bucket full of guts and skulls in jars. I mean, all kinds of cool
I love
stuff.
that thing.
Yeah,
There was like the bucket full of guts where he would hit, and like he would, instead of leaking out stuff, it'd leak out blood.
Oh, it was so cool. But now I will say, before you go into this, because I was actually thinking of if I could show this to the kids, which I think they could handle it.
I think you totally can, because it's all gore. I mean, there's just nothing really scary about it, and there's no bad language.
No, but I'm telling you, the gore is cranked up to the max. I mean, there are some really, really crazy gore scenes in here, which I thought was fantastic. It was such a cool juxtaposition with like the old classic 80s family movie vibe, but then you had like these hard-hitting moments of just like super gore, and it was creative gore. It wasn't the typical stuff. It wasn't like throats getting slashed or something like that. It was like really creative,
a lot of
stuff.
squibs being exploded, stuff like that.
But I mean, like, even the way things were killed was very creative. It was just everything was so fresh and neat and unique feeling. I just absolutely love like every little choice that Steven Kostanski made in terms of the directing and stuff. I just thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, one of the things I loved in this is how things happen in this movie, and they're just accepted by other characters in it without any kind of like questioning.
Yes.
Like the parents are, first of all, are super accepting really fast to Psycho Goreman just being in their lives. And I mean, you expect it from the dad, but the mom kind of gets involved, and they're just all cool, and they almost like he's like a member of the family all of a sudden. But then like the girl has a crush on her best friend, I guess, and they turn him into this like weird brain with eyes, and he's just walking around, and literally he's just like goes home every day like as if nothing's wrong. Apparently his parents don't notice ever. I think that's probably like a commentary there on
Well, I love how the when that brain is sitting there, and the dad he's trying to go after it, and he just jumps over it. He doesn't even acknowledge it. He just jumps over it. It was hilarious. That's another one of those little like, it's a visual gag that is so easy to miss, but it's so brilliant that how is such a great joke that just happens like in a split second.
And now I'm kind of
peppered with those.
Yeah, and now I'm disappointed. There was a special like $50 version of this that had all kind of like extras to it, but I didn't want to jump on that version yet because I'm like, well, just in case I don't like it, I don't want to pay so much for it. Now I'm like regretting it because I think it came with like collector's cards and stuff. It may have come with a book or something. have to look that up, which may kind of answer some of your questions that you had with the with the other characters in it.
Mm-hmm.
But like this would have been like back in the day, this would have been one of those like awesome like card sets that you would buy with the bubble gum in it like back in the day, at the
for
start,
sure.
like the baseball card versions, but like the whole movie series. Like I had all the E.T., I had all the Star Wars ones, like those old school 80s ones, like if that was a complete series, like I could totally see being one of the greatest ones. And like it would have like a character card, and like on the back it would talk about the characters you don't necessarily know enough about, so
yeah, it was great. All the performances were really good. I mean, the little girl was amazing. I don't know where they found her, but she's like,
yeah, I don't know.
Spot on perfect.
And like the funniest thing is like when she's like, one of my favorite sequences when they have that band, she's singing that song, crazy. So, like it's just like there's just so much like going on, like, and I love it because she's like so like she didn't even realize how in danger she could be in, like with a warlord, and she's just like totally manipulating him and bullies him just like she bullies her brother and pretty much kind of controls her, even her parents to some level. Like she's just like nobody wants to mess with her, and it's hilarious because it's a narrative that sticks through the whole movie pretty much.
And the kids really carry this movie, so to get like child actors that are like super good like this is really amazing. Like these kids are like spot on. Adam Brooks, man, I loved his portrayal of the dad. I thought, like we said, he's just hilarious.
I also want to know. I would love to get an official rulebook of that game, Crazy Ball, that they play, because that is such a kid like a game like that kids would make up. Like I mean, everyone had that game where they took like a basic game and made all their variant.
Oh yeah, we had
so
we had a couple. Let's talk about some games we had as kids. Kevin and I had one that was we used to play because we had a big deck on our house when we lived out in Hampstead, and we had a cinder block. This is the dumbest thing ever. We had a cinder block, and we put the cinder block up against the house, and then we would get on the deck, and at each like plank of the nail, you had to bounce a tennis ball into the cinder block. Like so, and then once you made it, you had to go back to the next nail, and then you had to bounce the tennis ball into the cinder block, and it got increasingly harder and harder. And we would sit there and play that forever. It's the dumbest thing.
God!
And then we had another one where we would play. At my granddad's house, we would like build this elaborate, like almost like mousetrap type thing with like planks and wood and ramps and everything, and then you had to like roll a ball and try to make it through the entire like course.
Oh my God!
Of stuff. But yeah, we used to do that all the time, making up games like that.
Yeah, no, mine were a lot more basic. Like there was one that my friend Mark and I used to play behind his house in his backyard. We called it Fun Ball. So just the name enough was close to this, but this was like, those like, do you ever see those mini bats like at a baseball game with the team names on it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we collected those over the summer when we went to our teen tour. And so we had those little bats, and what we were doing with them, we played in the backyard. His backyard was perfectly conducive for this. That was the thing. We could only play it in his backyard. So we would just play like regular baseball versus each other, but with a tennis ball. But like based on if it like literally if it hit this one tree branch, it was like a home run. But if it hit this lower part, it was like we had like a whole set of ground rules for this tree. God help if any of these branches fell off, because the whole game would end. But and then another one a bunch of us used to play at so our school, and I remember I was on the playground committee. They decided they were going to make a playground, but with one of those. I don't know if I haven't seen one in ages, but it was like one of these giant wooden like playground things where it was like it had like staircases and observation decks and was like this big walkthrough like maze, so to speak, and it was all wooden things. So I was like, you could really like play a great game of hide and go seek in there. But I remember, I think I may have actually come up with this, but we did a thing because of course I was into horror, so we did a game called like we called it Murderer. And so basically what you would do is one person would be like this Michael Myers-esque killer, and you'd have to slowly stalk around and just go up to someone behind them and pretend to stab them in the back. But then everyone else who got stabbed would also do the same thing. So but the whole fact of it being like not like a "you're it" kind of thing and quiet, you had no idea who was who was sneaking around, and this playground was perfect for it because you could really hide and go up like little nooks and crannies to kind of get behind somebody. And the whole point is you couldn't really necessarily, you didn't want to ever stand still. You always wanted to keep moving. So, but it was like you didn't want to move too fast because then they know you weren't the killer and a killer would spot you. So you just kind of had to like wander around and kind of go. It was really bizarre but kind of fun. So yeah, everyone like, but like, I mean, that scene alone brought me back to my childhood, with just like, I'm like, oh my God, look at the silly rules they have, and it's like, and sometimes you'll just play a game that everyone plays, but like you'll have like your own like home rules, at someone's house, they would make up an extra rule or something.
Oh yeah, that was great. It reminded me of what was the name of that game on New Girl? Remember, they made up that elaborate game. It was called American. Oh my gosh, what was the name of the game? American. But yeah, the rules were so incomprehensible, and they changed every time they played it. It was some new rule.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I can't remember what it was, but like, yeah,
True American. That's what it was. True American.
Oh yeah. And I mean, and like TV shows have always done that too, where they'll debut a weird game in there because everyone had it and it was so relatable. So I'm glad this movie took that element, from the kids and incorporated it into such a plot point in the movie.
Yeah, I don't know Stephen Kostanski's background, but I have no doubt that he has to have been a child of the 80s.
He has to, or just a huge fan of it. Like, because there's some people there that were too young or, born after it, but just have a fondness for those movies. He's one of the two, easily. He's got to be either a true full-on 80s aficionado or a child of the 80s. Most likely since he's... I mean, based on his look, what it looks like, I think his age is. I think he probably was. You're right. He's probably a child of the '80s. But
all right, so I guess we can get to some of the trivia here because really there's not much more to talk about without giving the plot away. And I'm definitely not going to do that because I want you guys to check this movie out. So this one I've noticed immediately. I didn't even have to read the trivia for this. That Psycho Goreman is from the planet Gygax, which has to be a reference to Gary Gygax, who was the creator of Dungeons and Dragons. I knew that, being a big D&D guy growing up.
Have you noticed anything that like sounds like the Gygax or something X always has a very 80s sci-fi vibe to it? I don't know, somehow. I don't know why.
Yeah, because you think about Zaxxon, there was like Game Zaxxon, and all those had that kind of that. Yeah, you're right. Every alien thing had that name to it.
Yeah, it's something with an X somewhere in there. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because the X sounded cool. But yeah, so the zombie cop, another trivia piece, is reference to Stephen Kostanski's 2012 short film called Biocop, which I think we need to track down because that probably sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, we mentioned when we read the cast list that Kristen McCulloch plays both Pandora and Alistair's mother in the movie. I thought they did a great job, like dual purposing actors because they were behind so much makeup.
Yeah, and like a lot of the different characters had a voice actor to go along with them to make them make sure that like the voice sounded like because Psycho Goreman, you could tell because he had a lot of like echo and like kind of a growl to his voice. So like that could there was no way that unless you had an actor that could be sizable like that and have that great voice like that. I'm glad they did like a voice over thing. I mean, look, one of the possibly the most famous villain of all did it that way with Darth Vader. So why not work for Psycho Goreman? There is one criticism I have of this movie is that they had a character named Alistair and they didn't have someone go Alistair like from You Can't Do That on Television.
Now that would have been a super 80s reference there.
Yeah, that would have been but that one would have I would have just like started doing the "We're Not Worthy" right in front of my TV if they would have pulled that one off. Yeah,
and Stephen Kostanski was a effects guy, so it's no surprise that he did a big practical effects movie.
Oh yeah, no, and he did, and like I said, all the effects you said it too, but like it was creative, like especially that one with the leaking like cauldron of like body parts and stuff. That was like each character was so unique, there wasn't like a race of people that looked all the same. Like, it was like every creature and character would look significantly different, which I thought was kind of cool.
I always hated that on that's my one gripe about Star Trek. As much as I like Star Trek, like every alien looks the same. Like he has a different ridge on their nose or whatever. And there's probably some reasoning behind that for all the big Trekkies out there, but I always loved it.
Who are probably cursing you in right now as you speak.
Yeah, of course they were similar because they all came from the original humanoid race. I don't know, but anyway, I'm not that big a Trekkie, but I always love when movies are bold enough to make aliens that look like real aliens, and this one definitely did that.
Yeah, and they there was the one I love too how they called them like the Templars. That's very 80s sci-fi kind of sounding thing too. It's like even like the names of things they used like sounded great. And actually, you know what was kind of funny, and I don't know if this was intentional or not, but based in the style movie we said it was based on, that's kind of Spielberg-y kind of kids heroic thing. The fact that they nicknamed Psycho Goreman PG, and this is anything but a PG movie because of its gore. I don't know if that was intentional, but to me, I was like, was that like a little like wink and wink, nod kind of a thing? Like it's kind of like a PG movie plot, but like ramped up to like a gore level of an R. You know, it's like.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna have to read some more about it. I really didn't go into now that I've seen the movie, I definitely want to go back and read like some interviews and stuff with him.
Because if you told someone this plot and said, "Oh my God, I got a great family film for you," and you just told the plot, an alien comes from it, about two kids befriend it, and and even though he's a villain, they kind of like whatever how you want to describe it, you could easily view this as a family film. But yet it's like a family gore film, like it's like Tim, it's perfect for your family to watch because your kids love horror. So they could, this is a film that you could all sit down and watch.
Yeah, I just saw a blurb when I was looking at interviews here, and it said PG really encapsulates those types of movies I loved as a kid, and especially the ones that also freaked me out. So yeah, he's definitely a kid after our own heart there, Brian.
Yep. We gotta look up him, see if we can get him on the show. That would be a great, that would be fun
insane.
Interview.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, let's get to our beer pairing. I can't wait to hear what you had for this one, Brian.
Yeah, so I got a good one here. This is from a brewery that I love, and I've actually had this beer. It's called Ransack the Universe. I thought that fit this
That's
theme.
perfect.
Well, yeah. And this is from Collective Arts out of Hamilton, Ontario. And I think there's a location also in New York that they I don't know if they brew out of, but I know they have some kind of distribution out of. But I'm pretty sure they do. Anyway, it's a 6.8%. But let's listen to the it starts with Galaxy hops, which you can't get better match of a film for this. So it's Galaxy, Mosaic, and Citra hops deliver aromas and flavors of tropical fruits, mango, and citrus. Light malt body lets the hops shine through and finishes crisp but not bitter. A delicious hemispheric hop mashup.
Well, that has Citra hops and Mosaic, and
tropical. Those are my two favorites.
Oh my God!
And
then, mango and citrus. I'm sold. Done.
Yeah, no, this is a good one, Tim. I think you'd really like this beer. You might be able to get it. It distributes pretty well. If not, I can probably grab some for you and make sure you get it.
Okay, I'll have to look out for that one because that sounds like a combination of all the stuff I love in beer.
Yeah, no, and this is a solid one. They've and if you look it up too, they've always a really good, interesting artwork on their cans too, which are nice. It's a really just an overall a good brewery.
Cool. All right, so last week our triple threat, we were looking for an actor or actress. We were looking for 80s star Corey Feldman. Clue number one, I've starred in some of the most popular 80s films of all time. Well, of course, he starred in Friday the 13th Final Chapter, Gremlins, The Goonies, Stand By Me, The Lost Boys, the list goes on. Every kid knew Corey Feldman.
I mean, when I was doing this, I was like, wow, he really was he was in some huge 80s movies that are beloved by us,
Yeah.
It's like...
Clue number two, in one of my most famous roles, I was going to go from hero to villain in the next sequel. However, plans changed when I took a role in another film. Of course, we're referring to his role in Friday the 13th, the Final Chapter. Tommy Jarvis, played by Feldman, was to be the killer. And then he took the role of Mouth in Goonies, and during shooting of that film, Friday the 13th decided to go another way for the franchise. So, of course, he returned for a brief cameo in the opening scenes of Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. But interesting.
He was supposed to be the whole character in this. I mean, you've heard this in a lot of the Friday docs all the special features on the Blu-ray. But it was pretty interesting though. I mean, because imagine I'm glad he took the Goonies. He had to take the Goonies, but because obviously that's one that put him way more in the mainstream. Sadly, I mean, I know to us it's it's like how could you turn down Friday the 13th, but I get it. You know, his
Yeah.
agent made the right call on that.
Clue number 3, I once played a turtle and once a frog. So Corey voiced Donatello in the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1 and 3, and also Slash in the TV series and video game. He also played Edgar Frog in the Lost Boys franchise. So that was a great clue there, Brian.
I was a little tricky there.
That was very clever. Yeah, I like that one. All right, so this week we're looking for another actor or actress, so listen closely. Clue number 1, I starred as 2 different characters with the exact same name in 2 separate, unrelated films.
Well, you read that well. I was worried how that was going to read, but...
No, I think that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it makes good sense.
Clue number 2, I am connected to a very well-known hockey franchise, although maybe not in quite the way you may think.
Yes.
And clue number 3, I am a 2-time nominee and 1-time winner in the same category of the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards.
So these are 3 clues. I think that there's definitely one in there that could get you on the right track pretty easily. But I think I made this one a good challenge.
Yeah, I like that one. All right, so our Fan Topic Foo listener question of the week comes to us courtesy of David McHugh, Horror Mailman. And this one is a insta answer for me. I did not even have to think about this one. I'm going to go first, Brian, because I'm just going to spew it out there. Do you eat food that's past its expiration date if it looks and smells fine? The answer is nope, absolutely not. I am a date freak, and this drives Olivia crazy. But if that food is 1 day past its expiration date, it's going in the trash. Wow. Sorry, I know it's bad. I know it's wasteful. I know I'm a wasteful American, but I can't. I'm a rules abiding. If it says best by X date, it goes in the garbage.
But it says best by. It doesn't say use by. If it says use by, I'm a little bit more strict. But if it says best by.
No, even best by is gone.
See, you figured this would be the opposite, right? You figure because you're more the low-key guy.
Yeah.
You'd be like, it smells good, tastes good, I'm fine. Yeah, but I'm okay with it. I used to be a little worse with it. I'll tell you, but Julie is like definitely opened my eyes to a little more. So with dairy, if it's milk, I mean, if it's a couple days past, I'll smell it. And if it even's got a hint of or like a sight of something bad, it's gone. I'm not eating it. Eggs, though, as I don't know if you know, but one of my specialties. I don't know. Well, you know, but I think I've told you, but I don't know if the podcast knows. One of my specialties is my deviled eggs. They're like legendary, and people like I can't show up at a party if I've made them, and not show up the next time with them as well. So. Like every Thanksgiving when we go to my families, I have to bring the deviled eggs. It's like the one thing everyone's like waiting for and everything. So with deviled eggs, when I make them, the better, the older they are, the better with hard-boiled eggs.
Really?
So sometimes I will actually wait a good 2 weeks after the day where it says, like use by or best by this date, because there's a test you can do with eggs. And I do the test. I don't just blindly do it. But most of the time, eggs will last like a good 2 months after. By the way, if you know, they'll last 2 months. And the way you test it is you put it in the water, and if it floats to the top, they're bad. If it stays if it stays flat on the bottom of the glass of water, it's super fresh. And if it just stands up and kind of hovers, you're like in the middle. So there's a trick to eggs. So I do test them. So it's not like I just use them blindly. But I found like about 2 weeks after the Best Buy or best used by, no, not used by, but Best Buy date on the eggs is when they're like almost perfection.
Interesting.
But with dairy though, I'm usually a little bit more hesitant. And meats, dairy and meats.
Yeah, meats. I would definitely never do. But it drives Olivia crazy.
It's a cookie. It's a cracker. I'm fine with most of the stuff like that. Because I don't know if there's a thing, but there's like something in like a New York State, New Jersey area kind of thing, like a tri-state area thing where like they have to put expiration dates on things. And most of the time they put it like for medicine, it's like 2 years before it actually goes bad. It's crazy. It's like the most ridiculous thing. So, and like, I remember Julie had read this article, so I'm definitely a little bit more open to like, even if I see a date, I'm going to smell and taste something first. And I think medicine, they say anyway, is good 2 years after expiration date too. They're just extra cautious with me, but around our area, I think they're extra because I think there's a just literally one of the state. I don't know. I think it's a New Jersey state rule, but since we're so close, we get a lot of stuff for them. They have to put it on there. It's really interesting. So. Yeah, so it's so funny. I would have totally thought this would have been reversed. You would have thought based on our personalities, it would have been reversed. But
I'm just very. I've always been very sensitive about food stuff. So like, I don't know. I don't know where that came from, but and I've even read articles that you can't go by the expiration date necessarily. That it's usually. It's usually like you said.
Yeah, because they do it out of caution.
Yeah.
They want to, and they don't know. And how many times have you gotten something where it's supposed to be good for like another 3 weeks and it's bad? So that's why it's like I trust it to a point. I use it as a guide. I use it as the end all rule.
Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, but I'm funny about that. And Olivia gets so mad because like sometimes I'll go on one of my pantry cleaning kicks and I'll just go through and I'll check the date on everything. And if it's like a week overdue, I'm like trash. And I've got like a big garbage bag full of stuff. And she's like, "Why did you throw that out? It was still good." I'm like, "No, it said 2 weeks ago."
Yeah, I'm starting to have second doubts. I'm starting to have second thoughts for you being on my apocalypse team because you're going to throw out all our food supply that like in cans.
I would
that
never
we need
survive.
To survive.
I would never survive the apocalypse because like
how would you have a bunker? Like, how would you stay under? Would you like totally like? Would you like have you like tunnel your way to like a supermarket underground or something?
Yeah, it'd be a week after the nuclear war, and we find a box of Ritz crackers in the house. I'm like, well, we can't eat these. They expired 2 days ago.
I'm like, you know what you're gonna have to do? You're literally, it's gonna get to the point when if we're ever at a true threat of nuclear war, you're gonna have to go shopping the day before.
Yes,
just make sure you have as much longevity as you can possible.
I wonder if
and find foods that don't expire and just stock up. You might be eating like sardines for the rest of your life, but you never know.
I wonder if it was from when I worked at the grocery store because I used to be a floor stocker at the grocery store, so we had to go through the shelves and pull expired stuff. And
for people like you,
yeah, and so,
really...
but we had to go through. When you were stocking the shelves, you had to check the dates on everything and pull the expired stuff. And maybe I just got into that mindset. I'm just instantly like programmed to just throw that stuff out. I don't know. But yeah, that is funny. I would have totally guessed the opposite.
Yeah, because based on our personalities, because anyone that knows Tim and I knows that Tim is totally the more relaxed, layback, and I'm the uptight New Yorker that's like panics at everything and second guesses the world, but yet. It's funny. You go to me and Tim like food wise, and look at that, we're opposite.
Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. World's weird.
Well, I won't tell you now, but there was an expiration date on that cookie at Dollywood that we split with the icing on it. So the icing was overdue by a day. But
no,
no, I'm only kidding. I missed that. That was one of the best cookies I ever had.
That was great. I want to go back.
I missed Dollywood. Jeez,
I want to take the kids.
Wait to get to.
Yeah, I want to take the kids for sure because I want to see the mountains again. I just want to take them because they've never been to Dollywood. Olivia's been, but it's been since she was a kid, so she, it's totally different for her.
Well, I told you, but you heard the bad news though, right? That hotel we loved that we always you remember that Julie and I always stayed at, and you and Kev stayed at. It's like I think it got bought out by the Marriott or something.
Oh, really?
It's like not like or something. Cone told me it was like. Because he stayed there, he was the last to stay there out of it, because I had told him about it, and somehow it I don't know, one of the big companies bought it and made it so it's like I'm sure it's not gonna be cheap. Remember how cheap it was? What was it, like $30 a night?
Oh, yeah.
Some crazy amount, but it was old, it was run down. It wasn't like. You're not looking at like the upper echelon of luxury, but could you beat that location? I mean, it was like the base of the mountains. You could look right, and then you had that little nook to that cool little donut shop. And
oh my god, yeah, the what was it? The
a donut fryer.
The donut fryer, and it had a little monk on the sign. But yeah, we would walk. You could literally walk from your hotel. And like Brian said, it was run down. It wasn't dirty. It was just run down.
No, not old. Dirty at all. It was clean, just old.
Yeah, just old. But you would come out of your hotel. You walk over to this little village shopping area. So quaint. This little village shopping area. They have that great little donut shop and get a donut and coffee before you start your day. To go to Dollywood or just hang out in Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge and I just loved it. You could just kind of walk around. It was so peaceful and. I don't know. It was like right down there with everything. I absolutely loved it. Yeah,
that street in Gatlinburg is one of my favorite areas in the world. It's so fun. Just something about it is like, it's like I remember the first time I went there, I was so mad because we had all this traffic to get there, and Julie, I'm like, what? It's like, why are we going to Gatlinburg? What the heck's in Gatlinburg? It's like, and it was our first trip there, and we didn't stay at that hotel at that point. We stayed we were at some area like way at the beginning of Pigeon Forge. So you know how far that is to go all the way down that main drag of Pigeon Forge into Gatlinburg. So and it was around Christmas time the first time we went, so it took a long time to get in there. But as soon as we got out in the car and we were walking around Gatlinburg, I remember it was like a little snowy and everything. And I'm just like, oh my God, this place is awesome. I mean, between the shops and the restaurants, and
there's so much
before
to
I even
see.
discovered Mysterious Mansion and all those things. And
well, yeah, Pigeon Forge reminds me more of Myrtle Beach. Like it's like super touristy, and it's super like, I don't know, it loses some of the feel that you're like in the mountains kind of thing. It's just like just so corporate touristy. But then Gatlinburg, even though it's also very touristy, it has a little more secluded kind of cozy feel to it. I don't know quite how to describe it, but walking down that strip, there's so much to see and do, but it's not like you're out on a highway. You can just walk down there and walk up and down, and you see the mountains and everything. Yeah, it's fun. I think the kids would have a blast there.
Yeah, and that arcade, that great arcade have there.
Yeah.
And then like that was where you and Kevin taught me the magic of boiled peanuts.
That's
and
right.
Which ones to look for and which not to look for. You told me you had to get the ones that say P-nuts.
Yeah, if they don't come from a roadside stand that says P-nuts, then they're no good.
Like I remember just how fun that was. Remember you, me, and Kev sitting on a ledge there in front of that arcade, just eating like we were taking a break, and right after we went to Mysterious Mansion, and we were eating the boiled peanuts and stuff before we met up with everybody and for dinner that night. That was a fun trip.
It's a good time. Yeah, I want to go to that. I've got that in my mind as a potential trip. And the other thing, Brian, I want to do is go to Busch Gardens, Williamsburg again.
Oh yes. Well, let me know when you go, because I'm definitely that's one place I want to hit this year. I want to try. Not only do I want to try the new coaster, but I just love that park. I could walk around that park and not even hit a ride, and it's great.
Well, I mentioned it because I was talking to Olivia. I said, you know what? We really need to go to Busch Gardens Williamsburg because it's not that far from us. It's only a little farther than Charlotte, really. And then, and I think the kids would have a blast because the park is beautiful. Olivia's, she's been there before, but we went a long time ago. We didn't really ride anything, and there's built so much new stuff now that she wants to go back. And she mentioned, she said, wonder if Brian and Julie would want to meet us there, and then we could all hang out, and then the coasters the kids didn't want to ride, you and Brian can ride, or whatever. So and I was like, I don't know, that's a little far for them, but I'll ask.
Not really. Yeah. It's not that bad. I think we made it in I can get there in about 6.5 hours, I think. It's not bad. We've done that trip a couple of times, so it's not bad at all.
Well, I'll let you know, because I'm definitely trying to kind of maybe putting that on the docket for this year at some point. Yeah, no,
and I love that. It's definitely got one of the coolest that beer house area where, and then remember there's that you can get the regular section, but then there's that little beer bar in the corner.
Oh, I love that place. Yeah.
Yeah, where you can get some little snacks, and they have usually 30 beers on draft, and it's just they still have one of my favorite old school roller coaster of all time with the Loch Ness Monster. I got Julie and I got a Zen ride on that. I remember at nighttime in the fog. It was awesome.
Yeah, we got to go. We got to plan that trip. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no. Oh, that'll be really fun. I gotta see I'm trying to think. There's that place, that really good brewery too, restaurant. It's a little bit. I think it's an hour and a half from there, but it might be too much for you guys. It might be too much of a detour. That Answer Pub, but maybe I'll stop on the way and pick up some stuff for us.
Yeah,
bring it to the hotel room.
Yeah, start thinking about dates and stuff.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, no, because I know we're looking in the summer. We want to do a kind of trips like that. Mm-hmm. Smaller trips, because especially if we have to leave OB with someone for the weekend, that's an easy weekend trip. And in Busch Gardens, what's good is you can buy one of those those skip the line passes for a decent price there, which is good. So yeah, cool. Definitely, yeah. Let's put that on the docket for the summer at some point.
Nice. Okay, guys. Well, we'll see you back here next week. Thanks for listening. And if you have any suggestions for the show or films that you want us to watch, send them along to our Gmail account or hit us up on Facebook or Twitter, and we'll be back here next week.
Yeah, and and be like David McHugh. Not only sent us listeners, he sent us a whole list of scare battle ideas too. So
yeah, anything for the show like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you like that element of the show there, it might go on for a while now. So, and you can thank David McHugh because he gave us a lot of good suggestions.
All right, guys. We'll see you later. And in the meantime, stay away from those intergalactic warlords.
Yes, and frig this, and you'll get that when you watch the movie.